What was it like? Obviously, you've lost a lot of people who were very close to you. We talked about this a little bit at Rolling Loud, but Gotti losing his brother had to be a big loss to the label. And just, you know, every time an artist would come here from CMG, he'd be with him. Like,
Fella, he tapped into them trenches, to them streets. You know, he grabbed them ones. And so, you know, you could see the outpour of them ones reciprocating the love.
Did you guys have, I mean, you weren't with CMG too long before, you know, obviously everything happened, but did you guys have any sort of relationship?
Yeah, I functioned with him heavy.
Yeah.
You know, he was tapping in while I was locked. Nigga tap in on the regular, just checking on the mentality. What's happening? Or he heard a new one, that new one going crazy,
right,
etc. So I most definitely function with him. Banging Peace Jook.
It's back in Marion, John Gotti's there. We had homies, they putting in a ticket. Everybody yelling through the bars because everybody's locked in the cells. You know, when someone's talking, you respect the person on the microphone is what we call it. So dude was putting a ticket, John Gotti's ticket, team getting ready played for his first ticket. So he trying to hurry up and get his bet in before the game starts. Somebody else was already giving their bet. So John Gotti said, man, you hear me talking? Dude said, nah, I'm talking. John Gotti like, man, I don't care who talking. I'm John Gotti, take my bet. So the Muslim dude told John Gotti, yo, just wait your turn. You hear them talking, speaking up. John Gotti's like, I don't care what you say, monkey. No, of course, now it's going to be on. So the doors open. John Gotti got the ABs around him when he come out. They had John Gotti in the middle. So dude whooped him, but John Gotti fought back as a man. When the joint was over, John Gotti shook his hand and said, man, you got that, but I'm letting you know now, we're going to have to fight every day.
This is the problem, lad. A lot of the celebrities, they have a voice. They do their music. What people don't realize, when you have a beef, these are real street guys. I will still pull up and spray and do what I got to do. You know, Big Jook, you know, he did troll young Dolph people, you know, y'all. He laughed. The man was, you know, telling them, I'm going to pay y'all bill. I know y'all. So now you testing these guys' manhood. Just because the world don't see them, but the homies, the people in the hood see them. So all it takes is one step or one real dude to be like, man, what's that? Y'all ain't going to pull up and handle y'all business? And the way they doing now, man, these like, yo, I'm scared of them, black. And I'm from the street. That's why I stay out the way, bro. I travel, I be out the way, man, because these little youngsters ain't playing.
Some murders don't happen because of mistakes. They happen because of power. And when someone holds too much of it behind the scenes, the streets eventually come knocking. That's why the killing of Big Jook didn't shock Memphis the way outsiders think it should have. To the city, this wasn't random. This was inevitable. For years, people talked about Yo Gotti as the face of Memphis rap, the mogul, the businessman, the one shaking hands in boardrooms. But the streets always knew the truth. Gotti had an ear in the music, but Big Jook had an ear in the streets. And when those two worlds collide, blood usually follows. Now fast forward to January 2024. Big Jook steps outside a Memphis restaurant after attending a funeral repass. Broad daylight, no disguise, no chaos. Just moments later, shots ring out. He collapses in front of his own mother. No robbery, no confusion. Law enforcement immediately calls it what it looks like. A targeted hit. But the real story doesn't start there. It starts years earlier, with a war that never ended. To understand why Big Jook became a target, you have to understand the history between Young Dolph and Yo Gotti. This wasn't just a rap rivalry, this was deep Memphis street politics stretching back over a decade. In 2010, tensions boiled over outside a Memphis nightclub during Thanksgiving weekend. Bullets flew. Multiple people were hit. Names connected to both camps ended up in police paperwork. That night set the tone. From that point on, the beef never cooled off. It just went quiet when it needed to. Over the years, Dolph survived multiple attempts on his life. Cars shot up, threats whispered, streets picking sides. This wasn't internet talk. This was pressure. Dolph represented something dangerous to the CMG structure. Independence, control. A Memphis rapper winning without the machine. And every time he spoke his mind, the disrespect felt personal to people protecting Yo Gotti's name. Behind the scenes, Big Jook was the one handling that pressure. People close to the situation always said the same thing. Yo Gotti made business decisions. Big Jook handled street decisions. If something needed to be enforced, he was the one making calls. If someone needed protection, he arranged it. That made him powerful. And in street logic, power attracts enemies. When Young Dolph was killed in November 2021, Memphis changed overnight. The city didn't just lose a rapper, it lost a symbol. Someone who fed families, employed people, and stood firm on independence. The reaction was instant. Candlelight vigils, murals, rage, silence with teeth behind it. Almost immediately, street talk pointed in one direction. Big Jook. No paperwork, No press release, just whispers that got louder every day. The belief was that he helped coordinate the move, that he made the calls, that he put the situation in motion. Whether that ever would have been proven in court is a different story. But in the streets, proof works differently. Once that belief spread, Big Jook became a marked man. That's the part a lot of people don't understand. You don't need an indictment to be sentenced in the streets. Reputation alone is enough. And Big Jook's reputation was heavy, which brings us to the day he was killed. January 13th, 2024 wasn't chaotic. It was precise. He wasn't chased. He wasn't robbed. He was waited on. Police later confirmed there was video footage and that the victim appeared to be specifically targeted. 2 people were shot. Big Jook didn't survive. Another man was rushed to the hospital. This wasn't sloppy. This was a message. And in Memphis, messages don't go unanswered. Almost immediately after the murder, one name started circulating louder than the rest. B.E.O. Lil Kenny. To outsiders, Kenny didn't look like the type. Small frame, quiet demeanor, but in the streets, size doesn't equal danger. Reputation does. And Kenny had one. Word was that he'd been active long before his name ever hit blogs. Then the arrest footage went viral. Police chasing him through brush, Kenny hiding in bushes, officers dragging him out while people recorded. Charges listed as evading arrest, reckless driving, possession, and minor violations. On paper, nothing connected to murder. But nobody believed that was the real reason he was in custody. Because by then, the music had already told a different story. After Big Jook's death, Kenny dropped a track that made the city freeze. Not because it was catchy, because of the details. Lyrics describing a man getting taken out in front of his mother. References to we, not they. Timing that lined up too clean. In street culture, that's called self-snitching. And Kenny didn't stop there. Social media posts followed, comments brushing off the arrest, jokes about being comfortable hiding in bushes, the kind of behavior that makes law enforcement lean forward in their chair. Later, Kenny tried to walk it back, posted online saying he had nothing to do with it, claimed people were putting false accusations on his name. But by then, the damage was done. You can't put details into the air and expect them not to land somewhere. Police are patient. They don't always rush. Sometimes they let you talk. Sources later said Kenny spent hours being questioned. Longer than you'd expect for traffic-level charges. That matters, because when law enforcement believes a bigger case is coming, they start small. They watch, they collect, they wait for you to trip over your own words, and Kenny gave them plenty. It's the part most people miss. If Big Jook hadn't been killed, there's a strong chance he would have eventually faced serious legal trouble himself. During proceedings tied to young Dolph's murder, his name came up. Phone records, movements, connections, the walls were closing in quietly. Street life works like this. Sometimes violence cuts cases short, and sometimes it creates new ones. With Big Jook gone, Gotti lost more than a brother. He lost the shield, the person who absorbed street heat so he could focus on business. And with Dolph gone, his camp lost their anchor, which leaves a vacuum. And vacuums get filled with chaos. That's where Kenny now stands. Right now, officially, he's not charged with murder. Just like Dolph's killers weren't charged immediately. These cases take time. Surveillance footage gets reviewed, phone data gets mapped, lyrics get dissected line by line. And here's the scary truth. Music has been used in court before. When lyrics match crime scenes too closely, they stop being art in the eyes of prosecutors. They become statements. The cycle here is brutal. Dolph gets killed, Big Jook becomes the suspected mastermind. Big Jook gets killed in retaliation, Kenny becomes the suspected shooter. And now Kenny is under a microscope. Nobody wins. Families bury sons, mothers hear gunshots outside funeral halls. Children grow up visiting graves instead of homes. And the streets keep moving like nothing happened. Memphis has seen this movie too many times. What makes this story darker is how predictable it was. Once Dolph died, retaliation was guaranteed. Once Big Jook was believed to be involved, his days were numbered. Once Kenny spoke too freely, attention followed. Street justice doesn't forgive, it doesn't pause, and it doesn't stop once it starts. Right now, Kenny might think he's clear. Bond posted, back outside. But cases like this don't end with one arrest. They unfold slowly, quietly. And when charges finally drop, they hit hard. The internet loves treating these stories like entertainment. Clips, lyrics, memes. But behind every update is a family breaking apart. Gotti lost his brother. Dolph's family lost a son, a father, a provider. And if this keeps going, Kenny's family may lose him to a cell for decades. The real question isn't who pulled the trigger. It's why this keeps repeating. How many more names have to be etched into concrete before someone steps away from the cycle? How many more message killings before the message loses meaning? Memphis rap gave the world some of the most raw, honest music ever made, but that same honesty exposes wounds that never heal. And when music, money, and street loyalty overlap, the outcome is almost always fatal. Right now, the streets are watching Kenny, and so are the feds. One wrong move, one loose post, one more bar with too much detail, and this story gets another chapter nobody wants to read. So ask yourself this: was Big Jook's death justice in the streets? Or just another body added to a list that never ends? And is Kenny really free? Or just waiting for the paperwork to catch up? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this case is just beginning or already decided behind closed doors? Subscribe if you want more real breakdowns of what's happening in Memphis and beyond. Because this story isn't over, and the streets never forget.